One thing I've always been fascinated by, but haven't really got into in this channel, are Mario-based mods, with the community coming up with some truly amazing creations that are free for all to try if you know the right methods. Why I hesitate at times to talk about this topic is due to Nintendo's harsh copyright stance, as they're known to take down videos and demonetize users that showcase these type of changes to their games. But, nonetheless, I still had the idea for today's video and knew I had to make it. Here, focusing on the weirdest mod for every single Super Mario Bros. Game. These will be bigger than just character changes or small tweaks to the physics. Although, don't count those out completely, as at times they truly do stick out. Also, before we get started here, my name is Copycat, and please subscribe to my channel as I'm so close to 180,000 subs, and I think I can get there with your help. The first game to be released in this series is Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985. Having one mod that kind of fits the theme of what's going on right now in real life, although maybe a few days late, and one that turns the Mushroom Kingdom into Christmas World. Made by Shiggle as a ROM hack, you're still playing through the same Super Mario Bros. That everyone knows and loves, but with everything being skinned over to create a literal winter wonderland. Adding stuff like snow and ice to platforms, cute little antlers to a few foes, replacing coins with candy canes, which just looks yummy to me, and Santa-fying the King Koopa, which honestly is just an awesome sight to see. Not much else to say. I love the graphics and textures, I love how they didn't change anything in terms of gameplay, and even though this is cool, I guarantee you that I'll show you even weirder stuff coming up. Next to be released in Western markets is Super Mario Bros. 2, coming out for the NES in October of 1988. Where the mod I want to look at as being weird from this game combines this entry with The Legend of Zelda 2: Link's Adventure, which is probably the most random thing ever. Here there are 8 levels and 5 boss fights included in this very out of place crossover. Although it oddly works even without a sword and shield and other Hyrulean based items that you normally have. But I guess because there aren't bad guys from that game, and they're still the ones that are found from the Subcom Dream World, so they're still Mario-fied and stompable/pick-upable, if that makes any sense. This one was made by Produx, and makes me wonder if there are any other Mario games that could be so seamlessly implemented into another Nintendo game, where in the future of this video we'll see some Mario mixes, but nothing that really matches this one. The final of the original NES trilogy, Super Mario Bros. 3, would come out in North America in February of 1990, where here a creator by the name of Aculus updated the graphics so that the usual 2D sprites are now all in 3D. This doesn't mean that the gameplay is now within the 3D realm. It just means that all the backgrounds in the levels, items, and enemies have a sort of depth to them that make them look 3-dimensional, with the gameplay not changing at all other than your perception maybe being a little off. I don't really think that this mod is warranted, as it's not really a most wanted thing, and it doesn't change enough to be memorable. It's just something I can make note of in a video like this, which is why I like making videos like this. Now we move on to the first handheld game in the series, Super Mario Land for the Game Boy, which has a mod that also makes things 3D, but here by taking the usual 2D gameplay and changing it so now it can be played in that new realm. This is super trippy to see, and makes things feel like a completely new and unique experience, even though it's just the same old game that's been around since the 1980s. Although in the end that is its downfall, as the sparse amount of enemies just makes things feel a bit barren and not as fleshed out as it could be. This one's created by Cast Games, who does similar types of mods with other titles, so check them out if you want to see some very different stuff. Next up is Super Mario World, that would come out for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System in 1991. Having a very funny mod that ruins the game in some really messed up ways, called Diagonal Mario. This at first seems like it's just the regular Super Mario World, but in actuality there are a few twists. With one being that Mario is now always seen to be leaning backwards, as well as his limbs being completely abnormal to the point where things almost turn disturbing. There's also a lot of changes like how enemies function, how the background sprites look as they are off or just changed in a few spots, how some levels are designed differently to throw you off in some really interesting ways, some secret voids being added that can easily lead to deaths, and Yoshi just looking awful, with your Dino Buddy now having messed up teeth and bulging eyes, looking like this might be due to some sort of inbreeding between Yoshis. Ugh. This was made by someone named Lester Vine, who truly must have a messed up imagination as there's so much wrong going on here, but I can't look away as it's a spectacle worth seeing. The next handheld game to be released in the franchise is Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins for the Game Boy in 1992. Where in this one, I don't want to look at a mod from this title, but its recreation in a future one, Super Mario 3D World. Here made by someone named Perix342. What is weird about this one is that it's still in the 2D platforming style, so it's not like they tried to even utilize any 3D platforming features this game had, which is a bit of a letdown. I mean, at this point, just recreate it in another 2D Mario entry and call it a day. But either way, I appreciate the effort and would never knock someone for going through the effort of trying. The first game in the series based within the 3D realm is Super Mario 64 for the N64, where I found a really messed up mod that adds blood and gore into the mix. Something that rarely happens at all in Nintendo experiences, most especially in Mario games. I don't want to show too much because I know some kids might be watching and are not ready for this type of violence, plus it's kind of unnecessary anyways. Although, it's not really that bad at the end of the day, and at least looks graphically nice in the new Unreal Engine. This was made by Project Longplays, who seems to focus mainly on this game and makes a lot of mods based for it, so I guess if you're looking for something like this, check it out. Another game based within the 3D realm is Super Mario Sunshine for the Nintendo GameCube, where for this weird mod, I want to look at one that adds the unused nozzle attachments into the game, ones that were hidden in the game's files and uncovered by avid fans. First is something called the dummy nozzle, which is just a regular sprayer, but for some reason it's pointing backwards instead of forwards. Unfortunately not giving you any speed when you use it, and not really letting you aim it, so there's no real advantage in using it over anything else. The other is actually kind of morbid in a severed Yoshi head that adds your Dino Buddy's head on the end of your spray nozzle, giving you a longer squirt than usual, which I guess could be beneficial in some instances if used correctly. If you like this stuff, then stay tuned in a few weeks for another unused content in Mario games video, as I found some new stuff I need to show off, so remember to subscribe so you won't miss it. Nintendo would eventually return the series to its 2D roots, with the release of new Super Mario Bros. For the dual screen system, but I couldn't really find a weird mod for that specific title, and I did find a really interesting mod that does bring Super Mario Galaxy, the next game on the list, onto the system, which honestly I'm more interested in anyways, as it's fascinating to look at what could have been. Obviously the gameplay and graphics could be much better, as in no way, shape, or form does it compare to the Wii version, but it still is a really cool thing to see in this pretty old system. Now I guess the benchmark would be something like Super Mario 64 DS, as you can't really expect any better quality than that, but for what this is, I definitely had to make note of it. The second installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series came out for the Wii in 2009, having a mod that adds an iconic fictional character into the game in the Muppet Kermit, here taking the place of Bowser, which really is a strange thing. This especially looks crazy during the boss fight when he turns gigantic, as being chased by Big Bowser was already weird enough. But here now you're being chased by a giant puppet, which just makes things laughable. There are a lot of mods like this one that change Bowser to some sort of character from a different game or cinematic universe entirely just to look goofy in this one instance. So I implore you to look around on YouTube because there's some truly great ones that I just don't have time to show off here. The second space-based entry is Super Mario Galaxy 2 that came out for the Wii in 2010, where here I just want to look at how a few levels from this game were recreated in Super Mario Odyssey, even including your buddy Yoshi, although minus his power-ups, which kinda suck. Honestly, in general, I don't think these mods are even needed, as this second entry is considered one of the best in the series already, and with the Switch re-release and updated HD graphics, there really is no other way of playing this game, so in the end, this is kinda blah. Nintendo would perfectly blend aspects of the series' 2D and 3D realms with the release of Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, having a mod where you put up against 20 Boom Booms in a challenge to see if you could come out victorious. This makes one of the easiest Mario bosses of all time now incredibly difficult to beat, not only because there's so many of them, but because you're limited to what you can see on your screens, so you're susceptible to sneak attacks that you can't predict. I really do like how this is a straightforward challenge that isn't focused on level design or some insane gimmick to attract players. It's just a 1 versus 20 brawl that you're hoping to come out on the other side alive in. The third installment of the new Super Mario Bros. Sub-series is oddly given the name of being the second, but whatever, came out for the 3DS in 2012. Having a mod that lets you play through an entire new story altogether called Super Mario and the Crystal Crescents. This is actually a great change to what I consider to be one of the worst Mario games of all time. Actually here creating an interesting environment that's fun to play through rather than the coin collecting slog that's present in this stupid entry. Again, I hate this game with a passion, and any changes made to it just automatically make it better, even if it turns out to be the smallest thing. There are a lot of reasons why this game is bad. I might one day make a video about it, but I'd love to know in the comments below if you agree with me or disagree with me on this. The final of the Super Mario Bros. Sub-series will be released on the Wii U in November of 2012, where for some reason somebody decided it would be a good idea to recreate Super Mario Bros. For the DS within a century. Something I'm sorry to say was not needed at all, as it's not like it shakes things up in any drastic way. I mean, I guess this is a graphical upgrade, but unfortunately it's kind of pointless and not needed. And I won't go on too much about this. It's weird that it's made, but it's not too strange. You get what I'm saying. Up next is Super Mario 3D World that would initially come out for the Wii U and later would be re-released on the Switch. Containing one of my favorite weird mods of this video, in the one that brings in the training course from the Super Mario Bros. Movie into this game. This is the iconic scene where Princess Peach teaches Mario how to platform around and deal with the different enemies from the Mushroom Kingdom, going through the course with ease as Mario struggles to keep up. The layout of this is actually pretty strange as most of it is set within mid-air and does not follow the typical level layouts that you'd see in a real game, as this one will be actually really difficult to complete with tons of voids that you can fall into and die. In the mod this is definitely seen as most of the times you have a 1 block radius to work with. So in completing this one, you have to be patient where you can, while also rush and take risks when you need to. The next to come out is the absolutely massive Super Mario Odyssey Nintendo Switch entry, released for the system in 2017, where we have to talk about what is probably one of the weirdest / best mods of all time, and a one that must be downloaded when you play this game in the Big Butt Mario mod, that of course gives our mustachioed hero a giant badonkadonk. Okay, maybe I'm joking a little bit, but still look at this strange mod that was made for some unknown reason by Trippy XCY. So just enjoy this while you can, as stuff like this usually gets taken down by Nintendo, even though this one has oddly lived on for a few years, so there's a chance they actually even like it too. The Bowser's Fury game mode, set within Lake Lapcat, would be released alongside the re-release of Super Mario 3D World for the Switch. Having a mod that flips the script entirely, where Mario is now the main big bad guy, and Bowser is the protagonist, trying to calm him down and return things to normal. This switcheroo does not look right at all, as Bowser is now diminutive in stature, especially standing next to his supposed son Bowser Jr. And Mario here looks way too menacing and awkward with his newfound body type. Other than that though, nothing's really changed, which is odd in itself, but I don't know, whatever. The final game we're going to look at in this video, and the most recent to be released in the franchise, is Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch. Having a mod that's sort of tied into the last game that we just looked at, where the entirety of Bowser's Fury is now brought into this entry, to make an entirely new 2D platforming experience. I believe this is more just like a DLC pack with hard levels within it that are based on that Bowser's Fury game, made by a whole bunch of different people, as I guess they clearly liked the two games and wanted to see a crossover, as they knew Nintendo would never make that happen. Honestly, being a Nintendo-based modder has to be a bit of a stressful job, as you never know whether or not the company is going to nuke your creation the day you release it, or even go as far as suing you. Fingers crossed that this doesn't happen to anybody in this video, or even me, as it really is a possibility if you make something they don't like. Okay, that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. I really hope you did enjoy this one. If you did, please leave a like, comment below, and of course subscribe to my channel, as I'm really close to 180,000 subscribers, and I think with your guys' help I can make it there easily. Hope you guys all have a good day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!